I've range tested the Specialized motor, I've range tested the DJI motor, and this time out, I'm going to range test the new Bosch Gen 5 CX motor. But first, we got to fit the same Connie tires. We need to check it's fully charged, 100%. Time to get it in the van and see what it's got. Now, I should point out that the bike that the Bosch CX motor is attached to is the new Whyte Kado RSX. It's got a 160mm travel fork, it's got 150mm travel in the rear, it's a full 29er. The key thing I should point out for this range test, it has the latest Bosch firmware updates. This bike is pumping out 100 Nm of torque and 750 watts of peak power. It's also got an 800 watt-hour battery hidden inside the down tube, and it's really low down in the frame to keep the center of mass as low as possible. Whoa! So I'm just connecting to the bike through the app. I'm going to take the dynamic up to +3. So I don't want it too surgy. And the assistance level, I'm going to max it out to see what we can get out of this bike. Given the increased power output, I'm expecting about 1,500 meters of vertical out of the Kado. So let's see what it's got. Almost forgot. Better switch my Garmin on. e-mtb, let's go. The big difference to how this bike feels. So I rode it the other day with just the standard default settings, and I was a little bit underwhelmed. Now it's got some punch. Especially with DJI up in the power output and the amp flow to 1,000 watts. But this is me tapped out. If I push any harder, that's it, the motor cuts out. It ain't that fast. Just gets you there quicker. So I'm up at the top of climb one, just to update. Done 122 meters of vertical. It's got 90% battery, and that's pretty standard at this point in the ride. So should we get 10 runs out of it? Let's see. Whoa, drifty. So that's me, I'm pedaling, I'm above the motor. I don't know what all the fuss is about the power. And I should point out that's one of the cool things about the Bosch motor. It's got really low resistance when you're over the assist limit. Unlike the amp flow, which has got pretty high resistance. Whoa! He says it nearly bins it. I'm blaming the Conti tires for that one. Done and dusted. I smell Magura brakes and wild garlic down there. Yeah, and as you can see from that, I was easily pedaling over the assist limit. I think that's the real big thing here. That's what makes it a pedelec, makes it a bicycle. 15.5 mile an hour, ain't that fast. Okay, on descent number 2, sweet corners, and I've done just over 200 meters vertical, and I'm almost at 82% battery. So it looks like I'm getting about just 100 meters vertical per 10%. So it doesn't look like I'm going to get 1,500 out of it. The other thing I suppose I should point out is that the percentage gauges aren't always linear. And that's one thing I really liked on the Specialized Turbo Levo, the new version, was that the battery readout was really accurate. Just rolling over to the top of descent number 3. Oh, the bluebells are out. Oh, beautiful. Quick update. I've done 352 meters of vertical, and we're on 73% battery capacity. Check that out. Gotta say, it's pretty daft having 2 displays, right? Where is the Bosch touchscreen color display for going in that blanking plate on the top tube? I'm gonna show you something really cool about the Bosch system, the Gen 5 motor. Look at that. You just oil your chain like a normal bike. There's just so little resistance in the transmission. I just hope that they've still got good sealing on that motor, because otherwise it's going to be really unreliable. Yeah, it's not like I need to worry about water getting in the motor today, though. The conditions are absolutely primo. Whoa! And down through here, it's back into the Dartwood section. Always love this bit. That Whyte feels pretty good across that little rocky section. It's got really different ride characteristic to the Levo that I rode here the other week. This bike doesn't have as extreme a geometry, but it's definitely got a smoother suspension feel, front and rear. You get your control from that rather than the super radical geometry that I had the Levo set up in. Then what's interesting too is having that really dynamic suspension feel. Although the bike's not crazy light, well, it's probably over 24.5 kilos, it's still really easy to move because you can preload the suspension easily and like spring off it. The suspension's actually critical to how an e-bike rides dynamically. Now if you're wondering what the Kado is, it's basically a carbon version of the old E160, which was an alloy bike. Very similar geometry. I think it's got a slightly higher BB. I haven't measured this bike yet because I was so keen to get out and get this really about the motor, but I'll take a look at that at a later date. Feels higher when you ride it. The old bike was really low. Okay, quick update. I'm at the top of descent number 4. Now we've done 491 meters of vertical and the battery is at 64%. I think the other thing you notice with the new update is like the increased overrun. Doesn't feel like the Bosch race motor, but definitely feels more in keeping with all the other modern systems. So I really wanted to try and show you this while I was riding, but it's actually too dangerous. So the Magura MT7 and the MT5 brakes, both of this kind of breakaway lever safety thing. The problem is that it can actually, I've had it where it's flicked out. I hope you can see that on the camera. It's flicked out from under my finger. And I'm not joking, it scared the absolute hell out of me because I was like searching for the brake lever, especially the rear brake, which I use a lot. Now, the Amflow had different levers on it and it didn't do that. So I'd like to see Whyte fit those levers to this bike too. Oh, the Whyte feels good on these chattery roots. Pretty flush feel to it actually. And that's where the overrun's really useful too, not just for climbing. You can fluff a corner up, put half a turn in and you're straight back up to speed. Through the gate means we're 2/3 of the way up. Climb number 5. Definitely don't feel like I'm working as hard as I did on the Specialized. So I'm at the top of climb number 5. See what battery we've got. We're on 53%, so almost halfway. And the Garmin, it says we've done 673 meters of vertical. I think my predicting of 1500 meters is might be pretty close. But it really depends on what the motor does when it gets to the last 10%. So the Specialized Turbo Levo, the new one, gives you full beans all the way till the motor cuts out. So that has a big impact on range. The DJI bike at 10% drops you into kind of like an eco sort of mode. So you're grinding around for another 100, 120 meters of vertical, maybe a bit more, but like it's quite painful. So let's see what the Whyte does with the Bosch motor. I don't know, because I've not ridden this bike flat, so I don't know if it's going to cut out or if it's going to drop me into an eco mode. Whoa, front end pushing. Boom. Whoa. Now I was pretty tired this morning from riding at the weekend, but clear that. Like the e-bike just means you can get out and keep shredding. It's like, I don't really understand what all the hating's about. I'm just at the bottom of climb number 6, and there's a little steep kick in the middle of this, which definitely even taxes the more powerful motors. I kind of struggled a bit on the Specialized with 666 watts peak power. Kind of, well, breezed up on the Amflow. Let's see how the Bosch CX gets on with 750 watts and 100 newton meters torque. And what I've noticed a lot on the Bosch bike, I'm changing gear tons, and I'm sure that's a conscious decision from Bosch. Oh, better concentrate here. To give it a more natural ride feel. Whereas on the Amflow, really you don't need to change gear that much at all because the kind of power, it's a bit like a diesel. It'll pull away in any gear. I've made through that pretty easily. So I've just stopped halfway up climb number 6 because I've just hit the 50% battery mark. So let me just check the Garmin. That's 734 meters of vertical. So 1500 could be in the books. Let's see. I've got to say, Whyte's really nailed the feel of this bike. Like in terms of stiffness, suspension, how it handles, it's spot on. It kind of sits really nicely in between the kind of directness, firmness of the Levo, and then the kind of softer, more comfortable feel you get with the Flow. Absolutely love this section coming up. It's like, feels like full moto whoop through here. Whoa, Jesus. Ah, scare myself. It's climb number 7 I'm on now. And I mentioned earlier, I'll probably mess this up now, but I mentioned earlier how like kind of get around this little section quite easily. I was struggling a bit on the Specialized. And I think that's because I had the Specialized set up super long, super slack, super low. But the key difference is the Whyte's a full 29er. You can mullet it if you want, but it's a full 29er. So that means the chainstay length, I think the chainstays in this bike are 450, 455, I think. So they're pretty long. And what that allows you to do is keep the front end down while you've got that power on the climbs. It doesn't push, so you can actually steer. It's really important. Another quick update before we head back into the woods. Almost at the top, climb number 7. Got 38% battery, and I'm at 948 meters of vertical, and the sun is shining. Woohoo! Right, this little chunky section here right at the start of descent number 7. Little rocks to get over and stuff, and that's where like having the dynamic suspension and probably the big 29-inch wheels kind of helps you carry speed through that stuff. And that's where the overrun's really cool. Like you can just, in the pickup on the motor, you just fluff a corner and then just get on the gas. So that's descent number 7 in the books. Gotta say, Whyte's absolutely nailed it with the ride feel of this bike. I mean, it feels amazing. Like it's just got the right amount of stiffness, flex, damping, pop. Yeah, I mean, it feels a lot like the old E160, just lighter, right? Which reminds me, I'm pretty certain I've got my scales in the van. So when I get back, when the battery's dead and I get back to the van, fingers crossed I remember to measure it before driving home. Love this little section. It's really pretty through here. Nice bit of single track climbing. And I should point out, when I mentioned earlier in this climb that like the front end's pretty well loaded, that's why it's critical that Whyte has that big 800 watt-hour battery low in the frame, because with long chainstays and a big battery, and if that big battery was up behind the head tube like it is on the Flow, I mean, you might struggle to get the front end up on this bike. Now I've just come through the gate, so I'm 3/4 of the way up. Climb number 7, climb number 8. Oh man, I'm losing count. It'll all be on my Garmin, so I'm not stressing about it. But what I want to point out is I've just got up that climb, and I was breathing pretty hard when I came up that climb on the Specialized with 666 watts peak power. This bike's got 750. I'm not breathing as hard. It's definitely not as it's not as hard work as the Specialized, and that's a real problem for Specialized because there's going to be bikes with Bosch CX motors with this kind of power output at 4.5, 5 grand. I mean, there already is, right? So why would you buy the Specialized when you're getting penalized for buying a cheaper bike with the 2-tier motor system? Because you only get the 720 watts and the higher torque on the S-Works bike, which is like 12.5 grand. I mean, I think it's insane. I think it's pretty funny too. If you watch my Flow range test video, no one's really picked up on it. I come up that climb mostly one-handed, holding my camera, and I haven't been able to do that on any other bike. So if you're a content creator, the DJI powered Flow is probably the best bike for you. So I'm at the top of descent number 8. We've done 1,136 meters of vertical. Ooh, almost fell over a rock. And we're on 27% battery. Love this section of trail. Some nice corners up here. And it opens up and gets a bit faster. Sketchy little drop coming up. And a sketchy cable too. Oh shit! Oh, sharp drop! Oh, nearly in the bushes. Should concentrate, shut up. So I'd just gone below the 30% mark on the battery, and I was just thinking, like, you could run this bike with a 600, because actually the cheapest bike in the range comes with a 600. If you didn't want to carry the full weight of the 800 around with you all the time, or you could just have two batteries. It's pretty amazing, actually. Whoa, just gotta concentrate through here. Whoa, that's flat out. It's amazing. Woohoo! Dude, I really don't understand e-bike hating. Oh my Lord, that's amazing. I've got 27% battery. We're still in turbo. Let's see how much this climb takes out of the battery. So really, like, what the motor starts doing now as the battery drains, that has a big impact on the overall range and how hard I have to work. You can hear my breathing rate's gone up quite a lot. There's no way this thing's still pumping out 750 watts peak power. Yeah, and while we're talking about batteries, like, I charged this bike up last night before coming out, and it was pretty flat. It took ages, so I checked on the Bosch website. It says it takes just under 7 hours from 0 to full charge, which in the modern era of bikes, e-bikes, that's a lifetime. So maybe having a second battery would be a really good idea, because you ain't going to charge this thing up at lunchtime. Not really sure what's going on here, but I just pulled up to pull the bike over the stile, and that started happening. That's pretty funky. Luckily, I had my finger on the front brake when I have my foot on the pedal. Take your foot off the pedal and it stops. Foot back on the pedal, it doesn't start again. But it just happens when you kind of do a weird stop. I don't know, bike feels pretty confused. So top of descent number 9. Let me check that's right. 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, that's correct. Top of descent number 9. And that climb brought me down to 20% battery. So it took a pretty big chunk out of it, but I don't think it was giving me the same power as it was before. And I should point out, like, the first time I rode this bike was the other day, and I actually had to check it had the firmware update on it, because to be honest, I was pretty underwhelmed. But this morning, you see, I went into the app, I cranked up the assistance, and that made a big difference to how the motor feels. And I didn't go crazy in the dynamic. I went to 3, I think it was. And I think that might have been what I was feeling then when I stopped, and I was just getting that weird jerkiness through the pedals. Maybe I need to tone that down a little bit, just so it's less responsive when I weight the pedal. It kind of annoys me. It's one thing I really like about the Amflow. It's super powerful. It's got loads of assistance. It's really quick to pick up, and it never does that. I think, like, maybe this firmware on this bike's not like 100% finished yet, so hopefully Bosch can fix that. Ooh, just rolling down to climb number 10. I've done 1,286 meters of vertical, and I've got 20% battery left. So I actually think I underestimated the Bosch bike. I think it's going to do 1,600. I think Danny was right. So I entered that descent with 11% battery, but now everything's gone red. We're down to 10%. So even though there's not a lot of pedaling on that descent, because you've got overrun and you're doing little half cranks, it still eats into the battery. So that's where I lost 1% just on the descent. And because the bike's got more overrun than before, I mean, that's going to use more battery. It's one of the reasons why low-powered, lightweight e-bikes don't have a ton of overrun, because it basically eats up juice. And while we're stopped, I should give you an update. So we've got 10% battery. Let's see what the Garmin says. The Garmin's at 1,423, so almost at where the Amflow was, but we still got 10% battery left. Obviously, it's not as powerful as the Amflow, you know that. So I think we're gonna get 1,550 out of it. So actually halfway between what Danny predicted and I predicted. So I think that makes us both winners, right? And even though I'm fully in the red, and I'm definitely not going up here at the same pace that I was earlier, it hasn't really just dropped me in a hellish spot where I'm struggling. Like I still made it around that tree. I still got power. It doesn't feel like eco mode. It's definitely got some beans to it still. Just don't expect it to be like rocket ship fast. To be fair, kind of still feels a bit like a Specialized Turbo. Back at the gate. Down to 2% on the screen. Not bad actually. We're at 1568, so that's kind of in Danny's favor. It's closer to 1600, and it's not dead yet, so probably get a few more meters of vertical out of it. Probably get us to the top actually. So Bosch bike's definitely in the mix. So I'm at the top of the 11th descent. It says 0 battery on the display, but just like the Amflow, it's still going. So I'm gonna ride this one down and see if it conks out by the time I get to the bottom. Such a cool bit of single track this. Dreamy. Cut that bit out. Again, I'm blaming the tires. That's it. Lights out. Motor just cut out. And you are not gonna believe this. Danny's prediction was pretty much spot on. 1601 meters of vertical. So that's slightly less than the Specialized Turbo Levo, but that bike only had 666 watts peak power. This bike's got 750 watts peak power. The Specialized also had a 840 watt hour battery, and it cost over 10 grand. This bike's 7.5 grand. The Amflow did, I think it was 1430 around there, meters of vertical. So not as much as this bike or the Specialized, but it's definitely more powerful than both of them. And also it had the worst conditions. It was really cold when I did the Amflow. In fact, it lost 3% of the battery overnight just sitting in the back of the van. So maybe I should take that bike out again in these kind of sunny, dry, warm conditions and do it again. Let me know in the comments if you think that's worthwhile, or if I should get another bike to range test. I was thinking maybe like a Nikolai or something, like an MGU bike. That'd be pretty interesting. And I'm done now. I wanted to know what the Bosch, because Bosch is going to be one of the most popular systems. I wanted to know what it would do with the Continental tires on. But for the next range test, I'm going with softer compound, heavier casing tires. Like the tires this bike comes with is standard, even though that's going to reduce the numbers slightly. I just think these bikes are so capable. You want the best tires possibly on them. Or even just, if you're going to go with Conti, you're going to go with Cryptotal, go with the super soft or ultra soft or whatever it is they call it. Just the softest one they make, because that's the tire you want. And I've just realized I'm at the bottom. I've got to climb up to get back to the van. And I've got 0 assistance, so it'll be kind of quite a good test to see what the Bosch motor feels like with no assistance, because I think it's got really low drag. I'm going to get back to the van. I'm going to get on the scales. I'm going to weigh it because I want to see how much this bike weighs. Yeah, and you'll be relieved to know that even though the battery's completely dead, because the tram axis derailleur is hardwired into the battery, there's still enough power in the battery so I can change gear. So I'll definitely be making use of those big eagle cogs on the back to get up this climb. Ugh. Pretty slow really, and without assistance. Oh no. Yeah, the resistance isn't bad actually. Just feels like paddling a pretty heavy bike. Just feels, I suppose this is what people call normal, right? .04 kilos. So 1600 meters of vertical. That means that the Kado is competitive. It's competitively priced. It's got good suspension. It's got good handling. It's got decent range. It could be the Bosch CX bike to beat. So let us know what other bikes you'd like to see, because we're going to put together a Bosch CX bike test to find out which one's the best with the Bosch CX. So I'm thinking like Norco Sight, Vala, a couple of others. So all the bikes with the latest update, just to find out which one's the best one. And the other thing I should point out is I figured out what that jerkiness was on the drivetrain. I think it's just like the kind of the hill start. If you stop and roll back ever so slightly, it just kind of does that weird gug. But like I'd really like it if it didn't do that, because it did it to me like 3, 4, 5 times on that ride. It would get pretty annoying really fast. Oh, that's church bells. Thanks again for watching, and if you like these range test videos, do drop a note in the comments and let me know which bike you'd like me to range test next.